Drivers, start your engines! I'm sorry.
With that command, NBC Sports brings you the start of the stretch run for the American Le Mans Series Championship. Over the next 4 weeks, 3 races will decide more than 15 titles. Audi drivers dominate the points. In third place, Johnny Herbert is hoping his privateer Audi team will become the second non-factory team ever to win an American Le Mans Series event. The spoilers in the championship chase could be the Americans. The Panos machines have taken on the world and won twice in 2002. And the Cadillacs, the Silver Cars, singing their network swan song today. Time to visit Laguna Seca, one of the world's truly scenic road courses. Today, the heat is on. Tom Christensen leads the ALMS championship fight in a tight battle with Audi co-driver Dindo Capello. Irony, they've paired to win 3 of 4 races this summer. They'll battle today with Sebring winner and former F1 star Johnny Herbert in the champion Audi. He has a shot, but he needs to win. At Laguna never cut out Frank Biela of Germany, another Audi star, and his co-driver Emanuele Pirro. They won here a year ago, and that put Pirro on the road to last season's championship. Against the picture-perfect backdrop of Laguna Seca, the American Le Mans Series title fight moves to its final rounds. Today on NBC Sports. NBC Sports presents the American Le Mans Series. Today, the Monterey Sports Car Championships. And welcome to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, the 8th race of the 2002 American Le Mans Series season. The Monterey Sports Car Championships on a picture-perfect afternoon for world-class road racing. Hello again, everyone. I'm Rick Benjamin, joined by Bill Adam, Martin Haven, and Jan Bikas on pit road for us today. 32 cars ready to start and on pole for the 6th time this year. Defending champion Emanuele Pirro and Frank Biela. Pirro quickest, more than 106.3 miles an hour. Starting alongside series point leader Tom Christensen, his teammate Dindo Capello. If Christensen does well, he can take a giant step to the championship. Second row, the weekend's big surprise, the Caddies. Max Angelilli, J.J. Leno in the 8 car. Just a mile an hour slower than the Audis, half a second back. Their sister ship, the Cadillac number 7, Eric Bernard and Emmanuel Collard. Jan Bikas, it's been a great weekend for this team.
Yes, Rick. In fact, it's the best team qualifying effort for Cadillac to date. Now, at the last race in Mosport, they were fast on the racetrack, but slow here on pit road. These fueling rigs, which normally take 30 seconds to fuel the car, took almost a minute. Well, they have cured those problems, and they're convinced that today they have what it takes to give Audi a run for their money.
We will find out on row 3, the champion Audi 5th quickest, Stefan Johansson, Johnny Herbert. Herbert needs to win today to build his point advantage. Next up, the 2 Panoses, Brian Herta, who's an ace here, and Bill Auberlen, 2 Californians in the 51. Only the 2nd time they've outqualified their Panos mates in the 50 car. David Brabham, Jan Magnussen start 7th. They're going for their 3rd win of the season. 675 prototype competitors finish up the top 10. On pole, the Dyson Lola MG, the 16, James Weaver and Butch Leitzinger, leading the class in just their 2nd start with this car. Going 9th, the Nighthawk 11 car, Claudia Hurtgen, team owner Steve Knight and Chad Block. Going 10th, John Field and Rick Sutherland. They're the 675 points leaders in the Banana Joe's Lola. Now we show you the grid from 11th back to 20th. Our pole sitter at GTS for the 2nd straight race, not the Corvette. The yellow cars have never won here. They qualified 3rd and 4th quick, but the 3 car has to start from 30th today. On GTS pole, it's the Pro Drive Ferrari, Thomas Enga, Peter Cox. They dominated Le Mans until a fire ended their run. Martin Haven, can this Ferrari win today?
Well, guys, it's never going to be easy to beat the might of a factory team operated by General Motors, but engineering may just do it, and ProDrive has that in spades. Their car crushed the opposition in the GTS class at Le Mans for 12 hours until it broke. That shouldn't be a factor here. And the other Ferrari, the Olive Garden team car, well, that was fastest in the morning warm-up. Like this racetrack where Chevy has never won will be a tough challenge again this year.
In GT, on pole for the 7th time this year, Lucas Luhr, Sasha Massa, and the Alex Job McKenna Porsche. That's the 23 car. Besting their teammates by 0.4 of a mile an hour, and the rest of the field looks like this. One GT dark horse. It's the Risi Ferrari 360, the 35, starting 3rd in the class. Anthony Lazzaro and Ralph Kelleners have a good shot here today. My colleague Bill Adam now to compare between a 675 and a 900 car, one of the toughest and most critical sections of this Laguna Seca race course.
A very interesting comparison of the two prototype classes, the 675 and the 900, on the busiest section of the Laguna Seca track. Now, the 675 will be on the top of the screen, the 900 on the bottom, as they come up to the world-famous corkscrew. 50 miles an hour on both cars right here, dead equal. But off the corner, look at the acceleration of the Audi. Huge differential in speed. And watch down at the bottom of this straight, this very quick right-hander. The Audi will reach almost 140 miles an hour. The 675 only 115. Up ahead, the braking equalizes, but off the corners, it's all 900.
How well you get through that part of the racetrack will go a long way toward determining how well you fare here today at Laguna Seca. 11 turns, Bill Adam, a world-class racetrack. Let's take a look. 32 cars, 69 drivers from 15 countries, 13 Le Mans wins.
This is going to be a great battle today, I think, in every single class. Particularly good, the Cadillacs up front in the 900 class, but I think the GTS class today, that might be where the action takes place.
We expect great battles in all four classes as the field funnels down the short front stretch. Green flag in the air. Glad to have you with us on NBC Sports. We're underway from Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. The Audis, the Cadillacs, and the champion Audi. That's the white car, dropping into fifth.
Boy, you see, look at this. The Pano's coming up the inside of the champion car, bumping already.
Good battle for fifth spot on board with the 50 car. This is the look out the front nose piece, the splitter they call it of the Panos.
Oh, man, and you see the difficulty of trying to get around this track on cold tires. You will see all day long a lot of sand and dust getting kicked up. It seems that with everything being around this track so close, now we're back on another nose splitter. This is the Fairy Tale Brownie car. The size of the Corvette looks like a truck right next to that. Jeff Bucknam on board taking the first stint in the race.
The Audi's out in front, starting up the hill toward the corkscrew. This is that part of the course you described for us, Bill.
Steeply uphill at this part and very difficult, particularly on the opening lap when the tires aren't up to temperature. The tendency is, as you press this rise, just like in your street car, the car will try and lock the brakes.
On board with Stefan Johansson in the 38. This is the champion Audi. They were fourth. Now they've fallen behind one of the Panos cars. Johansson and Johnny Herbert will pair in this car today, and as we said a moment ago, Herbert badly needs a good run, a win if possible here today. Behind the 51. Herta and Alberlin. Now remember that Brian Herta has had a lot of success here. Maybe made the most famous pass in Laguna Seca history in a kart FedEx Champ Car race a few years ago.
Yeah, quite remarkable. Brian obviously very much at home at this track, keeping ahead of Stefan Johansson right there. But interesting enough that Magnussen was able to jump ahead of Herta right at the start. I think initially, in the morning warm-up today, both of the Panoses were substantially better, faster to drive than they were yesterday in qualifying. And the guys all admitted they were not happy in qualifying. The car felt very skittish, and they've gone back to an older setup that they knew exactly what was taking place. It said, perhaps ultimately not as fast as they had it, but the car is much more drivable, gives them confidence.
Johansson up the short straightaway, climbing the hill. The 675 leader is the Nighthawk 11 car getting in front of Weaver. Now let's zero in on the GTS battle. Here's the Pro Drive Ferrari. Thomas Enga, Peter Cox. You know the Corvette story. They've dominated this category for so long, but they've never won here at Laguna Seca. And right now it's the Pro Drive Ferrari out in front, Bill.
Yeah, a stunningly beautiful car. That really is just a work of art, whether it's on the track moving or just sitting in the pit lane. A lot of carbon fiber. Both of the 550 Maranellos in the race today, originally in their lives, were street cars. They took these things and then started heavily modifying them. We'll get into it later on because they've taken a bit different directions on which way to go. The Pro Drive have a much larger race shop to work with than the Raffinelli car, but they're both very, very competitive here.
Now the Corvettes dominate the points chase. Fellows and O'Connell team in the 3 car. Pilgrim and Collins in the yellow number 4 Corvette. We'll tell you more about the Fellows O'Connell day or weekend so far. They had problems yesterday during practice and qualifying. Flat spotted tires, decided to change those tires. That forced them to start the 3 car from the back of the grid. So up front in GTS, the Ferrari, the Celine is second. And here comes the Corvette. He's gotten in front of Naspetti now in the Olive Garden machine. That's the number 4 Corvette. That's the car being opened by Andy Pilgrim today. Kelly Collins teams with Pilgrim in that car. So a good battle today in GTS. We expect a similarly close race in GT between the Porsches and the one Ferrari, the Risi Ferrari we talked about a few moments ago.
Guys, the Goodyear team have worked so hard with GM to make these Corvettes competitive. They brought a new tyre here to Laguna Seca, but the feeling is that it will give them early grip, but it may not last. Ron Fellows confided in us earlier that they're burning these tyres up in as few as 10 laps when they drive hard. And from the back of the grid, that's right what he has to do now. So they may be starting fast, but they may run into early problems too.
Yeah, that is really tough. I mean, Ron did say that they were hoping to try and get through one complete stint with the tire still intact, but they didn't know if that was possible. What that'll mean is that he may have to run a reduced pace or else hope for a yellow flag situation.
This is race leader Emanuele Pirro in the Infineon Audi. Car number 1, the red trim car. His teammate Tom Christensen in the yellow trim number 2 rides second. The Cadillacs are 3rd and 4th. We'll be back at Laguna. Welcome back to Laguna Seca. Coverage of the Monterey Sports Car Championships here on NBC Sports with Bill Adam. I'm Rick Benjamin. Some of the stories we'll look at today. Our Old Spice outlook at GTS. The Pro Drive Ferrari. Totally different approach to GTS building. And the Corvettes that have dominated. Problems for the team. The 3-car, the dominant car. Ron Fellows, Johnny O'Connell, flat spotted tires. They had to start from the back today. In GT, Lucas Lohr, Sasha Maassen getting ready to try to clinch a championship for themselves. And they've got a challenge today from a Ferrari also. This is the Risi Competition Ferrari 360 out of the Houston stable. So good battles in GTS and GT. Also in the 675 and the 900 category. We climb on board the Zybernaut Alex Joe Porsche, the 23 car. Take a look as he works his way up the front straightaway. Lohr is leading. His teammate, Jörg Bergmeister, in the number 22 Joe Porsche second. Hugh Plum and the Cycle Porsche, the 52 car, rides 3rd at the moment. 12 laps on the board. And we'll show you the point standings. Maassen and Lohr just a point apart, Bill.
They're amazing. They have done such a great job long, and we have seen them do just about anything that you could ask of a driver. They've shown speed and intelligence. They've just been wonderful. Only a single mistake, I think, the whole season where we saw Lucas at Mid-Ohio get tangled up with Randy Post. But other than that, flawless, perfect preparation by the drivers and the Alex Joe McKenna team.
Lohr starting the 23 car today. He leads at GT. His teammate Bergmeister. Take a look out the back end of the 23. And take a look at our Porsche Digital Pilot. Some of just the speed and the G-forces this car's capable of.
It's really amazing. And thinking this is the slowest class, well, hardly slow by anyone's definition, heading up here through this beautiful countryside. Now, it's deeply uphill at this point. This is heading up towards the corkscrew. 120 miles an hour. You can see just about there, over 8,000 RPM, and then heavy, heavy braking. There's that rise I talked about earlier. It makes it so easy to lock brakes in cars. You've got to be so delicate with the braking initially.
Guys, we saw that the points leaders in the GTN class are just 1 point apart. The Alex Joe drivers cover all 4 top positions. But the way that the series is scored with an extra point for pole position, an extra point for the driver that does the fastest lap, means that teammates do not always score the same, even if they stay together all year. Now, one of the things that Alex Joe Racing is trying to do in tying up 4 titles is make sure that the drivers that share the cars end up with exactly the same point score by the end of the year. You'd think it'd be tough enough trying to win a race with a pair of cars, first and second. They're just adding to the arithmetic problems here.
Maybe their MVP is the team manager, and that would be the team owner, Alex Job. Overall race leader, car number 1, Emanuele Pirro. But his teammate, Tom Christensen, right there. That's a battle for the lead, heading under the Bridgestone Bridge.
We've been lucky enough to watch these battles all year long in the GT between the 2 Alex Joe cars and also these 2 Audis. It's nice that they're given the freedom to go out and race because the spectacle and the fun that it creates for the spectators and for us too.
Sure.
Wonderful racing.
The 2 Cadillacs ride 3rd and 4th. Max Angelilli in the 8, Manuel Collard in the 7. As we documented at the top of the show today, best qualifying weekend ever for the Cadillac team, entering the final 3 races that they'll run as a team. Here, the streets of Miami the first week of October, and then Petit Le Mans the following weekend, and Road Atlanta the second weekend of October. Watching the 2 Audis through the corkscrew. And Bill, it must be quite a ride downhill in those race cars.
It really is. It is so steep. It's like a 5-floor drop when you go from the top of the corkscrew all the way down to the bottom.
And in the 675 prototypes, a surprise, I think you could say, the Nighthawk MG Lola. This is the 11 car. Chad Block in the Gestetner machine leading right now. He got around pole sitter James Weaver and Rob Dyson Thetford Norcold 16. And Block has got the 11 car strongly in the lead. The points chase, though, John Field, the the team owner and the lead driver for the Banana Joe's group. He's pretty solidly in front of Ben Devlin and the other drivers who've fallen in. Devlin is here today, and the Archangel Lola with the Nissan power plant, not nearly as fast, but they've been more reliable.
That really has been just saving their bacon all year long. That it has had better reliability, I think, partly because of the lower horsepower, but it's a very simple car. These little Lolas here, they're ultra high tech, they're beautiful race cars, and like anything else, whether it's a jet aircraft or a race car, the higher the technology involved, the longer it takes time to sort it out.
Chad Block out of York, Pennsylvania. Sponsor is Gestetner. You see it there on the side of the black 11 car. This has been quite a year for the Nighthawk team. Steve Knight driving today. Mel Hawkins, the other co-owner of this team, staying out of the car this weekend in favor of Block and Claudia Hurtgen, who will drive third in their lineup today. This car was doing very well at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, had a turbo fire, burned the car to the ground, essentially. They shipped it to Lola. It was rebuilt quickly. They've not missed a race in the American Le Mans Series, although they did have to bring last year's 675 car that they ran, which was not an MG Lola, to Mid-Ohio in the middle of the summer to keep alive in the points chase.
Yeah, he's being very careful right now there as he's winding his way through the field, not taking any chances, just passing clean, safe spots. And an indication of how good these cars are. Right now, the leading Audis, both Pirro and Christensen, are lapping in the 1-minute 18-second range. Well, Chad Block is lapping right now in the 1:22 range, only 4 seconds a lap slower by this little car.
We'll take a look at the car that's chasing Block. That's the black number 16 out of Rob Dyson's stables from upstate New York. That's the Thetford Norcold MG Lola. Second time out for this team. Weaver and Trans Am points leader Butch Leitzinger will be, or I should say Trans Am points runner-up Butch Leitzinger will be in that car today. Take a look at the gap. Weaver starting to gain some ground, and here comes John Field. Now, they sent the 37 to the back of the grid today as well, Bill, and John Field has done a nice job bringing that car up through the back.
He has. That's the other good charge. And talking about Ron Fellows having to go to the back, and it's so difficult because usually you come up to clumps of cars, and they may be involved in their own battles. And sometimes they see you, sometimes they don't, because the concentration is somewhere that it should be perhaps split up a little bit. And that's so difficult to get through.
Bill, you're so right about the two recovery drives from the back of the field. In fact, John Field has been leading Ron Fellows all the way through. Now, Ron Fellows, we saw locking up heavily on his fastest qualifying run. He flat-spotted all 4 tires. He just shaved the rubber clean off them as they were locked up. John Field's slightly different concern. They just weren't happy with the choice of tyre that they had in qualifying to start the race with. So they bit the bullet, changed all 4 tyres, started at the back of the grid, and that looks like it's been a good choice. The rubber they have on now is really working for them already up to third in class.
And Field has caught James Weaver. He's just a second and a half back of the 16 car. That's an outstanding drive for a driver who is not a pro. He's a very, very good amateur driver.
You're right. I mean, earlier this year we saw a couple of good amateurs in that car, and they are both very good drivers, extremely fast. You rarely see them make mistakes. They're cautious about passing cars. I like what I see.
Here's Field closing the gap on James Weaver. They are about 3.5 seconds behind Chad Block in the 675 category. Pirro and Christensen have the Audis at the top of the charts at Monterey. Lots to enjoy here at Laguna Seca, Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Great weekend for the fans. We'll be back on NBC Sports. It's been an action-packed season of American Le Mans racing. A couple of races to go in 2002. More than 15 titles to be decided today in Miami and at Petit Le Mans. It's been an Audi sort of day. Meantime, car number 2, the second-place car of Tom Christensen, is on pit road. Christensen started the car. He's the series driving leader. He gets out of the car, and his teammate, Nindo Capello, will climb in for the next stint. Fuel going in the car, and they're set to put a new set of Michelins on that car. But the Cadillacs have had a good weekend so far, also on pit road. Jan Bikas.
Yes, both the cars are on pit road. Chequered, and funny enough, it did seem as though the fuel was a little slower than expected, but much better than Mosport. They've already made driver changes on both the 8 and the 7, but they're having a little bit of trouble on the 7 car behind with the right front. Now, of course, the 8 car was leading J.J. Leto now behind the wheel. They're waiting just for the left rear, down on the ground at 57, 58, right on 1 minute. That's assuming that J.J. Leto can get this thing fired. And right behind the 7 car, on about the same sequence, trying to get the tires and the equipment out of the way.
And trouble for that car. The 7 stalling as he comes off of pit road. Now gets the car refired and in gear. So the caddies trying to put together a great day here today. Caution on the racetrack, though, Bill.
It's something very interesting. Just be left. I think that Leto, Ron Fellows in the gravel trap. That's the caution. They have to pull him out. To get back, I think J.J. Leto in the Cadillac was able to beat the number 2 Audi out of the pits.
So great job on pit road by the Cadillac team. The race leader, Pirro, has brought the Audi number 1 onto the pit road for his tire change. Driver change as well. Frank Vila climbing in that car. Manuel Pirro did a great job in the opening stint. They put that car on the pole and led the first 40 laps here today.
I wonder if Fellows in the Corvette just swapped ends, because Ron had been talking about the problem of trying to maintain the tire grip. Then Andy Pilgrim talked about that. It had to be bad. And I think even more so for Ron, having to start at the back of the pack, work just that little bit harder. And I know they were trying a number of things to offset that rear tire wear. They were running more rear brake in the car to try and help the front end cooling. Very difficult.
The 1 car getting service. Frank Vila down and away. Now pit road, we're told, had been closed because of the full course caution, with Fellows going off into the gravel. So there could be a penalty assessed here to the 1.
It's possible, but that's one of those things that he would have to have made the stop anyway. Now, if he made it before the pit stop was closed, look at him. He's even asking, can he go back out? He wasn't 100% sure. One of the things, though, regardless, if he was on fumes, it's still better to get the car into the pit, refuel, and take a penalty. Now he doesn't know what quite to do with the pace car.
You see the safety car out with the lights on. Now the 50 car, one of the 2 Panoses, was penalized earlier. We'll show you how that took place just a few moments ago as we are under full course caution. Here comes the 50 up behind the Yes Network Porsche in GT. There was contact as they came through one of the corners. You can see the winglet of the right front corner of the 50 car getting knocked off and flying off into the weeds.
And this is something that I guess I'm biased for Magnussen because I love watching him drive. He's just a brilliant talent, but I don't think that deserved a penalty.
Martin Haven, how did Jan Magnussen see it?
Well, Jan Magnussen, one of the problems of being in the fastest cars is you do have to make it through the traffic. Did you feel you deserved a penalty?
No, not really, because it's not like I ran into him. I sort of touched him on the way out. And but I don't know. I guess it's okay to be hard with the penalties, because we're not supposed to hit each other. But you know, I didn't. If I was doing it on purpose, it would have been a lot worse than that.
Wow, a driver who thinks that penalties should be applied. I think this may be a first, boys and girls.
He is a class guy. No, and I agree. I mean, it was such a light impact.
Yeah.
There is always going to be a certain amount of incidental contact on the track, and that was something that, boy, Jan did everything possibly to avoid him.
Now the 0 car in GTS, the Olive Garden Coca-Cola Ferrari, came to pit road with a broken suspension piece. We thought at first a tire was down. They fueled the car, made the driver change from Emmanuel Naspetti to Mimo Scattarella, but it turned out that it was actually a broken piece in the front of the car. Now this car has undergone a lot of revisions before Laguna Seca. Jan Bikas, what did you find out?
A short day for Emmanuel Naspetti. It looked like something broke up in the front of the car. Do you know what it was? It's the rocker of the front shocks. We don't know why yet. He made a lot of changes on the car, including the front suspension. Do you know if this is one of the new pieces or one of the existing ones?
Well, part of this was new, so it's something we have to develop also.
I know this is disappointing, but earlier this week you had a chance to go to Salinas and feed some kids, so this has been a week of, unfortunate disappointment here, but I know you enjoyed that.
Yeah, we really had a bad luck this weekend because I think we made a big step on the car, but we couldn't have the possibility to show it because of bad luck. Today we knew with the first stint it was hard because we had the wrong tires, but we were confident for the second part of the race.
All right, sorry you're out early.
High hopes for the Olive Garden Coca-Cola team today, coming into Laguna Seca with their revised machine, but didn't quite work out that way. What you saw was team driver Mimo Scattarella helping serve some of the children here in the Salinas, California area, part of the Olive Garden drive against hunger. In the last couple of years, they've fed more than 12,000 people. Just this year alone, more than 2,000, part of the Olive Garden drive against hunger. And we salute the team for that effort. It is just a wonderful, wonderful program. Well, Frank Biela has car number 1 at the head of the field. Dindo Capello runs second with Stefan Johansson third in Monterey. What has been a storybook season for the Team Yost Audis continuing here. They run first and second at Laguna Seca. And the Monterey Bay Aquarium stands at the end of Cannery Row on the site of the old Holden Cannery. Since 1984, this renowned regional aquarium has been a compelling destination for tourists and scientists alike. It's a home and a haven to thousands of rare and remarkable, and sometimes deadly creatures from the cold, deep waters of Monterey Bay in California. Back in Laguna Seca, coverage of the Monterey Sports Car Championships on NBC Sports with Bill Adam. I'm Rick Benjamin. High tech is great. Our weekly Cadillac Tech feature. Bill Adam explains how those sleek caddies stay glued to the racetrack.
To try and explain some of the mysteries of aerodynamics, we'll take a look at the Cadillac LMP 900, a car that weighs 900 kilos or about 2,000 pounds. But when you add these pieces on, now this one here is a splitter. That's designed to control underbody airflow. What it does is to raise right here and actually create a low pressure area that sucks the car down to the ground. It adds 750 pounds of downforce. Then you move to the corner, these winglets. Each of these add about another 150 pounds of downforce. And finally, you get into some strange pieces. This is called a vertical gurney. And just like if you put your hand out into the wind, you'd feel a tremendous drag. It does drag, but it creates vortices of air. And along with these vents on the top of the fender, suck the high pressure air from around the wheel. The air that's tending to lift the car gets drawn out. Now, how many times have you been in your street car in a slippery condition that you wished you had a little more force holding you down? Hear this, God? This is the force. May the force be with you, Rick.
You've put him on notice now, Bill.
I hope.
I won't want to be in your household this week. Field behind the safety car. We thought we were going to get a restart this time by, but the lights remain on. Now, we showed you a few moments ago, Ron Fellows had gone off into one of the gravel traps. I believe it was coming toward turn 5, Martin Haven.
Ron Fellows, your Corvette in the gravel. Tell us what happened.
I got hit. Not once, but twice.
Well, now, there's not too many things on the racetrack faster than a Corvette. Was it one of the P cars? Seems like a silly question, but you know who?
Yeah, I know who.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a P car. I just, I don't know. I mean, you know, sometimes when you're committed, I mean, it's so slick, there's nothing you can do. And so it seemed like the car that ran into me was, used me as a bit of a berm, because it was once and then twice. But anyway, it's...
Well, you know, in the days of modern technology, it's very hard for a driver to get away with anything. And here in the Corvette pit garage, they've got 12 screens monitoring every corner, so they see everything that happens. Ron back now on the racetrack. They've had a full tire change, driver change and fuel, as has the number 4 car. So they're under yellow flag conditions. But this looks like another race that is going to elude the Corvette team here at Monterey.
They could have taken a giant step toward winning the championship in GTS. Ron Fellows winning the driver championship, but they are way behind. Johnny O'Connell in the car, 27th overall right now. Hey, next weekend, NBC Sports proudly presents 15 and a half hours of golf's ultimate challenge. It's the Ryder Cup. 3 years ago, an improbable last-day comeback sealed the win for Team USA. Tiger Woods and the Americans' best go across the pond to defend the cup against Sergio Garcia and the best of Europe. Don't miss the Ryder Cup coverage next Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. Pacific, right here at NBC Sports. And we congratulate the American Solheim Cup team, just reclaiming those honors here this weekend. Just back under green, just in time to see another full course caution here at Laguna Seca. In the corkscrew, this is Johnny O'Connell in the Corvette. We just heard from his fellow driver, Ron Fellows. O'Connell out of the car with a fire bottle. That car is heavily engulfed in flame. Fire crews are there. You can see they've already dumped a lot of powder in the car. The onboard extinguishers have gone off. O'Connell is out safely. That's he with the helmet on and the uniform, reaching back into the cockpit, probably to turn off the fuel bill.
Boy, this is really strange. Look at that fire. Look at this black, oily fire. That is really bad right now. That fire is well and truly underway.
Coming from the side of the car, you'd almost think the headers, being overheated, would have caught something on fire.
I have no idea. The intensity of that fire and how quickly it's spreading is very unusual.
Now, we just heard from Ron Fellows. They got hit twice and knocked off the racetrack. I wonder if perhaps some of the bodywork got pushed in on the headers, might have caused something up front to catch fire.
Jeez,
these are carbon fiber race cars.
Yes, they are.
And it looks as though the flames
well,
have been put out.
Virtually obscuring the track over to the right-hand side, too.
Talking to Doug Ducart, the GM Racing Program Manager. He's here this weekend overseeing the Cadillac and the Corvette efforts. He was telling me this morning that these are the new cars, the cars they raced first at Le Mans. They were going to use these cars, this version of the 3 and the 4, also at Petit Le Mans, besides here at Laguna, and that they're using the original cars, the 2 cars they started the year with, on the streets of Miami in 2 weeks, because that's a very tight racetrack where the potential for damage is significant. But all of this resulting in another full course caution. The cars have just gotten the green flag. Take a look. There's the car on fire as Johnny O came down the hill in the corkscrew. He got it off the track safely into the gravel trap and bailed out. You can see the flame billowing out from the back end of the car as he was coming through the corner.
That is spreading so fast. Now think that he would have been in the pits, so that's pretty much of a full fuel tank. I wonder if something has split in the system, like maybe one of those big hoses that runs from the dry brake area and down to the actual tank itself. But you've got a black smoke coming out there.
You've got to think that's because of the contact with the prototype car that knocked him off course.
Quite possible. A lot of flames underneath the car.
Here's another look. You look at the yellow Corvette at the top of the corner there. You can see him headed for the grass or for the gravel with the back of the car already engulfed in flames. As the team car, the 4 of Kelly Collins and Andy Pilgrim, goes by down the hill. There it is from a different angle, and there were just flames billowing out under the passenger door. They've taken the back bodywork off the car to get a look underneath. Johnny O waving to the fans from Flowery Branch, Georgia. Great guy, very accomplished road racer and oval track racer.
What a mess.
It'll be a while before that car will be ready to return to the racetrack.
Well, you know, I guess maybe that's one of the things about that team. They are so good, and the fact they were able to build those extra cars so quickly. They're such a professional team.
Hey, coming up next week on NBC Sports, 12:30 Eastern Time next Sunday, beginning with the Discover Card Countdown to Green. Sprint PCS presents Winston Cup Racing from Kansas, with the closest race for the championship in NASCAR history raging on. Defending champion Jeff Gordon and all of NASCAR's top drivers look to tear up the track at the Kansas Speedway, make their move for the top spot in the points chase. Sprint PCS presents Winston Cup Racing from Kansas Speedway next Sunday, 12:30 Eastern, only on NBC Sports. So we're under full course caution for the second time today. Frank Vila and Dindo Capello, your leaders. And we'll be back with more of the American Le Mans Series Monterey Sports Car Championships after these words from our local NBC stations. Back in Monterey with Bill Addo, I'm Rick Benjamin, Jan Beekes, Martin Haven on pit road. Under full course caution for the second time today. We had one caution, took the green for just a lap, and immediately went back to full course yellow because of this incident as the field came through the corkscrew. Corvette driver Johnny O'Connell, the yellow number 3. Take a look here from the Alex Show Porsche, and you can see when he downshifted, Bill, the flames started.
I mean, immediately, you just saw the explosion of flame out the bottom, and Johnny, thankfully, was able to quickly exit that car. But had it not been for the quick work in the firemen, that would just be a smoking hulk right now. These guys really did a good job in saving it.
Johnny O got into the action himself and helped deliver some of the powder to the car. And apparently it was the result of that on-course contact. You know, the cars you see in American Le Mans competition are among the coolest you'll find anywhere. They were very cool here this weekend. All of the ALMS manufacturers have a great lineup of street cars. Here at Mazda Raceway, they put the race cars and street cars together for a demonstration of automotive might. In most cases, the technology used on the racetrack has improved the highway product.
When this car was built, it was raced, and then Mr. Panos came up with the idea, hey, let's start a factory, take the technology we learned, put it straight into here, from the electronic packages to the, you see the brake packages come straight down, with the exception if they go from carbon to steel. The motor packages are the same. They start out the same blocks, everything's the same. So it's, you know, kind of a Ford derivative Elan power product that's in here now. And you see that what comes from here on Sunday arrives in here on Monday.
After leaving pit road, some of the ALMS's finest drivers hopped into those street cars and headed a few miles up the road to the famed 17-mile drive, one of the most picturesque roads in the whole country. Drivers checking out some of the wildlife and some of the incredible sights to be seen here in the Monterey Bay. If you've never had a chance to see this area, it is well worth the trip. Back with you, the green flag is back underway, and the Audis have dominated so far. Bila in car number 1 is out in front. Capello in the 2-car running in second spot. Johnny Herbert third in the champion Audi. That's the 38. Bila first overall and first in LMP 900. The Cadillacs have been very competitive this weekend too. J.J. Leto in the 8-car shown in 5th, just getting lapped by Bila as they head up the hill here at Laguna Seca. Bill, we thought the Cadillacs might well have something to show the Audis here this weekend. So far, it hasn't worked out that way.
No, it appears they caught out of sync there in that first yellow flag situation. And the pit stop just it happened basically at the wrong time for them. But they have shown, I think, really amazing speed. And for J.J. Leto, like second in the picture, right there, the number 8 car, he would love to go up there and pass it out. He just in front of the crowd to give them all something to cheer about. The thought of Cadillac leaving the series, quite frankly, breaks my heart. This car is just starting to become so legitimately competitive. It is a very good race car.
Wayne Taylor, who's been one of the driving forces behind this team, still trying to find a way to keep these cars on the racetrack next year. Probably not under the Cadillac banner, but Wayne told me this morning he's still exploring some options and hopefully trying to gather the funding that would allow these perhaps to continue as a privateer effort.
I hope he does. I want to see this car continue, because to see it at this early in its lifespan to be so good with the Audis. And how many times have we said that the Audi just could very well be the greatest sports car ever? Well, for the Cadillac to be competitive, and it's still very much a new car, it's such an uplifting thing for the whole team and the driver to see developing that quickly.
This is really the 3rd generation Cadillac chassis, the 2nd that they have raced, and it is doing very, very well overall here in the second half of the 2002 season. Checking in on Dindo Capello in car number 2, 38 years old from Italy, 13 career victories in the series. That is second 2 years at Le Mans. And as many of these drivers do, loves to go go-kart racing and also cycling.
Of course, we know the dangers of go-kart racing, don't we?
You've still got some scars, don't you? From
I do.
Trip to Mosport?
Yes, excellent.
Down through the corkscrew, Capello in the 2-car.
They're all so good. I mean, one of the treats of coming to the American Le Mans races is watching these guys through qualifying, whether it's it could be Biella, it could be Pirro, it could be Christensen, anybody at all. They are simply so good and use up the cars to 100%. I mean, boy, they're using them right to the edge of the track. They're getting right into the apex, and the precision with which they drive them, it's beautiful. It's just great fun to watch.
One of the Panoses, David Grabham in the 50, back in 6th behind Leto. Brian Herta is 7th in the other Panos. Good battles in all 4 categories here this weekend in the American Le Mans Series. Terrific fight in the 675 prototypes. We talked at the top of the broadcast about how reliability had been the main issue for the MG Lolas so far. The MG Lolas, all 3 of them, have run very, very well. And the Nighthawk cars out in front. And in GT, the battle between the Alex Joe Porsches and the Risi Ferrari. Here's the way things shape up right now. Timo Bernhard has the 22 car for the Alex Joe McKenna Zybernaut team out in front. Sasha Massen's in the 23, a second and a half back. Anthony Lazzaro has taken over the Ferrari, and they are 8 seconds off the pace. Ralph Kellner started the number 35 car, the Risi Ferrari 360. They were leading coming to the green, but the Joe cars both got by as the green reappeared. Timo Bernhard, just 21 years of age, from Germany, has a career win, and was on the winning GT team, which actually was Kevin Buckler's Racers Group team in Le Mans this year. And Timo's decided he's going to become a guitarist.
21 years old, factory Porsche driver. It's disgusting. I'm dying of envy.
Life could be worse.
Oh, great.
Hey, you've got a Porsche drive coming up this week in Indianapolis.
He will be one of my teammates, that's right. One of the Porsche Super Cup races.
There's the 23, the 2nd place car at GT with Sasha Massen. We climb on board with Sasha heading toward the corkscrew.
And you know, something interesting, too. Keep in mind that at Three Rivers, Quebec, Sasha Massen had a terrific battle with Timo in the final few laps, past him to take the win. So I think that gives Timo an extra little incentive to maybe try and stay ahead of Sasha today.
There's a lot at stake for the 4 drivers that make up the Alex Job team. As we heard earlier, Alex's goal is to try to give all 4 drivers an equal opportunity to win the GT championship this year.
The acceleration off this slow corner here, down to about 40.
Porsche digital pilot up the front straightaway. Timo Bernhard leads Massa and Lazaro in GT. We've got more than an hour to go at Monterey. And some big changes are on the horizon for the Star Mazda Series. Not next year, but rather in 2004. The series president is Gary Rodriguez, announcing this weekend a new, more powerful rotary engine, along with a brand new chassis. The chassis was unveiled this weekend here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca.
Well, it's driven in the first place by the fact that Mazda has an all-new rotary motor, which is much more powerful than the one we're using, even in its standard form. So when we put that more powerful car into the equation, more powerful motor into the equation, that pretty much led us to an all-new design for the car, because the motor actually is too powerful for the car we have now.
The current car in its 14th season. Great racing. The Star Mazda Series here at Laguna this weekend. Justin Pruskowski in the 75. Contact with Michael McDowell in the 11. Pruskowski continues on. Even though the car went through the gravel, he beats Moses Smith to the stripe for his first win of the season in Star Mazda competition. Back at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Welcome back to our coverage of the Monterey Sports Car Championships with Bill Adam. I'm Rick Benjamin. Frank Biela is on top in car number 1. That's one of the factory Audis. The ADT champion Audi of Johnny Herbert has moved to second. The 2 car, the team car to Biela's machine, Bill, back in 8th. They've got suspension problems.
A very rare failure for this car. It has seemed to be bulletproof all year long, but something has gone astray. They say that there is a bent rear suspension arm. Not so bad that it's going to put the car out of the race, but it will make the car very difficult to drive. And as time goes on, if the tires are going to go really off on this car.
Well, let's get an update on the situation from pit road. They've had the 2 car in the pits, Martin Haven, and it was a fairly lengthy pit stop. What's the situation?
Tom Christensen, long stop for your car. Long stop for your car with the damage to the rear end. How is that going to affect the handling and the tyre wear, particularly in the later stages?
No, the problem was the rear right, the toe link was broken, so they changed it. So the car is perfect, okay. And the car was very good before. I mean, we think we had maybe the best Audi today. Everything was running quite well. But the team did a fantastic job changing it fast. But still, in this competition, we dropped back. So let's just have to regain as many positions possible. So Dindo is doing a good job.
Well, guys, it just goes to prove, even when you've got an all-conquering Audi, you can't take anything for granted. Tough break for Christensen and Capello.
Now they're nearly 3 laps behind, Bill, and Christensen leading the driver's standings overall. This doesn't help his chances of winning the championship.
No, it's a dream come true for Johnny Herbert in the champion ADT car, because this should tighten it up a little bit more. And there's only really 2 races after this. There's the Miami Grand Prix and, of course, the Petit Le Mans. Perfect for the fans.
Coming up the hill, one of the cars that's been a contender in the lead in GTS for a time, the Celine, the 26 car. Barry Borcheller started that machine. Franz Conrad in it now, and they are second, now third in GTS. They had a long pit stop. Let's get on board with Johnny Herbert, second overall, but 20 seconds behind Biela in the ADT champion car. Bill, you were telling me earlier, you think they've got to push the front end washing out on this
car.
car.
I think something to keep an eye on is the amount of turn that Johnny has to put into the steering wheel. If you watch where his hand goes right up here, and you can see that he's getting a lot of turn in the wheel compared to Biela. Biela's able to turn in the corner, and I think the car is gripping a lot better. So Johnny is working the car very hard. Boy, we've seen all year long, he loves this kind of an uphill fight.
Yeah, you're talking about that push, and that is exactly what the team has been fighting all this weekend, Bill. In fact, on their final, what they hope will be their final pit stop, they only changed front tires. That's because the front tires are wearing so fast, they wanted to get new ones to try and give Johnny Herbert a bit more bite on the front. And you're right, that's exactly what they've been chasing all weekend.
Well, Herbert knocking off some quick laps, nearly as fast as Biela last time by a 1:18.5, about a 1/10 and a half behind Biela's time. But look at him work the wheel there, Bill, to keep it straight.
Again, going through the right-hander. Look at how far he's putting his left hand over top of the wheel. Almost a full quarter turn more than what Biela has to do. So that's just scrubbing the front tires across the pavement. It's not getting any good grip at all.
Former Formula One pilot from England. Jump on board here. This is Biela in car number 1, the race leader. And look at how smooth that car seems to be working.
It makes a great comparison. If you watch Biela's hands up on the wheel there, the amount of movement is so much less because the car is tracking. It's really being much more precise. It makes it a lot easier on the car. Here's our telemetry too, our BBS wheels, my favorite wheels. I want a set for my car. Now watch as we follow maybe all the way down the front straight. He'll go into that tight left-hand turn 2 at the end of the straight. He is getting a full quarter turn less, so it shows the front tires are biting. Look at that. It's just, well, actually, his helmet blocked a little bit. Perhaps on the next right-hander, you'll see it. It's so much easier. It takes a lot of strain off. See the shifting position. Now, his left hand right at the top of the wheel, so a full quarter turn less.
So smooth. This car has led all the way today. Manuel Piro starting the one car.
It's simply amazing cars.
Vila, 38 years of age, lives in Monaco, as do many of these drivers who don't reside in the U.S. 7 career victories in the series, and he's been part of the 24-hour Le Mans winning team that has won 3 straight races now.
Incredible. What a resume. You have your summer home in Monaco, don't you?
We just sold it.
Buy a bigger yacht.
We talked earlier about the Corvette, GTS Corvette problems. We see the Corvette that remains in the race. Kelly Collins in car number 4. They are second. Meantime, one of the prototype contenders today, car number 7, the Cadillac. This is the car of Emmanuel Collard and Eric Bernhard. Fuel pressure troubles, evidently. They have stopped the car. They're out of the car. The car's parked against the barrier. Jan Bikas, they're done for the afternoon, I guess.
Yes, and unfortunately, that was just a lack of fuel pressure. It was out on the course, and all of a sudden, with no warning, the fuel pressure dropped to 0. They tried all the switches that were available on board. No way they could get fuel pressure to the car. And, of course, with no fuel pressure, you're going nowhere fast.
So Collard and Bernhard parking that car out on the racetrack. It's out of harm's way, so no caution showing, but their afternoon is done. They were hoping for a great day today. The team car, though, J.J. Leto, 4th overall. He's a lap down to Vila at this point. Leto has done a very good job in the 8th car. He with Max Angelilli, who started. As we watch Vila lapping by one of Jeff Bucknam's machines. That's a pill beam in the 675 prototypes. Vila up the hill toward the corkscrew.
I'm really surprised that one Cadillac failed. I think they have shown such good reliability over the past full year. Really amazing.
A couple of races left to go. Their program concludes with these prototypes after Petit Le Mans next month. 2 races remain after today to settle all of the American Le Mans Series championships. More than 15 titles at stake. Driver titles in all 4 categories, manufacturer titles, tire manufacturer titles, and so forth. So there's a lot yet to be decided as the series moves through its final stages here in 2002. Right now, everyone focusing on the back end of the one car, and we want you to log on, of course, to NBCSports.com, the latest motorsports news and results on the American Le Mans Series and our in-depth coverage of NASCAR. Expert analysis from Wally Dallenbach and Benny Parsons. You can email Benny your NASCAR questions to all at NBCSports.com. Log on today. Watching Vila work his way through some of the twisty bits here. One of the bridges, the Bridgestone Tire Bridge toward turn 5. And we will be back with a whole lot more here at Monterey and Laguna Seca. Fans with plenty to enjoy here today. Huge crowd on hand, perusing all the wares at Mazda Raceway. We'll be back. The American Le Mans Series for the fans. A huge gathering of fans has turned out this weekend for the Monterey Sports Car Championships here on NBC Sports. Alongside Bill Adam, I'm Rick Benjamin, welcoming you back. About 40 minutes of racing remaining here today. On board with the overall leader in the Team Yost Factory Audi, the one car, Frank Vila. His teammate Emanuele Piro. They have led just about all the way today. They put 85 laps on the board here at Laguna Seca. Johnny Herbert in the ADT champion privateer Audi R8 is in second spot, nearly a lap behind. And Bill, as you pointed out, Vila makes this look easy. This car is working so well for him. Meantime, battling for third spot, Brian Herta has come to pit road. Jan Bikas.
Of course, they're going to be in a little different sequence than the Audis because they don't get quite the mileage, or at least the distance on the fuel tank. I think most notable, they did not change tires. The Paynoses are running the medium compound on the front and then the hot weather tires on the rear, and it seems to be working for them today.
Herta, meantime, had gotten by J.J. Leto for third spot just before that stop. That should be their final stop of the day. His task now will be to try to chase down Leto in the remaining Cadillac.
And couldn't be a better track for him. As you pointed out earlier, this really was his own domain and cart when he was here. He was virtually unbeatable so many times on the pole, and that great last lap pass or defense, whatever you want to look at.
Take a look at how the tire manufacturers battle stacks up. Jan Beek is just telling us about the tire choice for the Panos team. The Michelin Group has won 34 of these American Le Mans Series 900 category events in 35 tries. The Yokohamas have won 1. There you see the remaining tire brands active in American Le Mans Series competition. Great battle this weekend in the 675s, Jan Beekes.
Yes, there is, and we have a driver change underway. Looks like Claudia Hurtgen is going to get in, but they're having some difficulty getting the seat insert out prior to her arrival. So now you see the fuel is done, and I would imagine that the driver change is going to lose them a little bit of time. You really want to get your driver change done before they start to go for the tires. In fact, she still doesn't even have the steering wheel in position, and they're going to have to scramble to try and get the belts in. But of course, she is one fast pilot, so that's going to get her fired up to see if she can make up this time and try and keep up with the 16 car, of course, which has its own problems today. But boy, what a great battle in 675.
Well, reliability has been the story in this category. These MG Lolas are blindingly fast. The Nighthawk team with 3 drivers, we pointed out earlier in the broadcast, that requires 2 driver changes. Now, Claudia Hurtgen from Aachen, Germany, very, very fast. One of 2 women in the field today. Bill, I don't think she'll give up much in terms of speed to Butch Leitzinger, who's driving the 16, which has just taken over as the 675 category leader. Butch has that car 7th overall for Rob Dyson's Thedford Norcold team.
Now, I agree with you. I think Butch Leitzinger is an excellent, excellent driver. One of my favorites, but Claudia Hurtgen, in my mind, she might very well be the finest female driver in the world. She's extremely competitive, a true racer, just a wonderfully talented young lady.
Right now, the 3 675 cars at the top of the category standings are 7th, 8th, and 9th overall. Leitzinger leads. Hurtgen being shown 53 seconds back after that long stop to make the driver change tires and so forth. We're running short on time, about 32 minutes of racing left. That would mean now 25 laps or so, roughly.
Dare I jinx them and say how well they have run today and how reliable they've been so far?
One of the GT Porsches in the dust. That's Mike Fitzgerald in the 79 car. He's stopped off the racetrack. Might bring out an area caution at the very least, but we don't see any yellows showing as yet as the field funnels by. Fitzgerald from the United States and a very fine GT Porsche driver. Pairing with Justin Jackson. Mike is from Phoenix, Arizona, the J3 Racing Porsche. They have struggled this year. They have not had any good finishes, although Fitzgerald's a very capable driver.
Yeah, it looks like he's had just a tiny little bit, damage there around that front wheel, but I don't think that had anything to do with the car stopping.
Back to Leitzinger. We heard Jan Beekes mention the problems the Dyson team has experienced. We talked earlier in the broadcast about how they had dialed the turbo boost back in that car to try to make sure the car would last the whole way. Reliability has been the Achilles heel of these MG Lolas.
It has, but you know what? The problem that they have at the moment, funny enough, is that they have a boost line that is off. IMSA monitors the boost on these cars to be sure they don't get too much horsepower, and that monitor came loose and pulled off a boost hose. So at the moment, not only did they turn down the horsepower, but unfortunately because of the boost meter and that hose loose, they have even less boost now than they even had anticipated.
So Leitzinger will try to hang on and score the first win for the Dyson Racing team this year in American Le Mans competition. They were the overall ALMS champions back in '99 with Elliott Forbes Robinson.
EFR.
They won the first ever American Le Mans championship. Meantime, we climb on board with Jeff Bucknam's Fairy Tale Brownies 56 team. Chris McMurray driving the 56 right now. They are 5th in class. They've had a couple of wins this year, mainly because of the better reliability of their Pilbeam Nissan combination.
A lot less horsepower, but it has been extremely reliable.
You see the Banana Joe's MG Lola, another 675 car just blowing by on the inside. They are 3rd. Make that to 4th in the 675s. The 3rd place overall car, J.J. Leto, stopping.
It looked like he's trying to get out.
What's he waving? They're fueling the car.
Or did his seatbelt come loose?
He's getting some help. Looks like strapping back in. Maybe they have a steering wheel problem. Remember, we talked earlier in the season about how a lot of these cars have a lot of their electronics and telemetry in the wheels.
You know, I think maybe JJ was expecting a driver change. It appeared that he'd gotten rid of all the belts.
Yeah.
And now he's signaling for help to get them done back up.
He is.
See, he actually put his shoulder harness back behind him. That's usually when you're ready to get out of the car.
Max Angelilli started the 8 car today. JJ got in on the first pit stop, and they're going to leave him in to finish. 3rd overall at the moment, a lap down to the leaders, Vela and the 1, Herbert in the 38. Leto will accelerate off pit road. There is a pit road speed limit here for the ALMS machines in Laguna. And he will head down into turn 2.
And this should be interesting, too. He is still shown in third place, but Brian Herta is off. Boy, is that him right there?
What's this?
Cold tires.
Instead of going the rest of the way on the entrance road and coming onto the racetrack, he went through the gravel. Now, he must have picked up a lot of trash by doing that in the tires.
Would have, yes. The tires will be filthy at least for half a lap.
Leto coming by our location here on the outside of turn 5. He'll have to take it easy until he gets the tires cleaned up.
And I think that Herta may be ahead of him at this point.
Scoring shows that Leto is still third, but until the cars come around, start, finish one more time.
Just in the bottom of the picture there, the car that disappeared, I think that was Herta's Panos. So let's take a look when we get up to the start. Right there.
Yeah. As we watch Leto the backside of the racetrack and head toward the corkscrew.
Boy, what is it about Laguna Seca that just turns Brian Herta
There is
alive?
Herta in that 51 car.
He is so good here.
That's one of the Panoses. He took over from Bill Auberlin. Oh, he's off. Brian Herta, who is an expert here at Laguna, has gone off and drilled a tire barrier at the bottom of the corkscrew.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Brian. I didn't mean to jinx you.
Oh, Brian Herta, who is from this area, we would not have expected that in a million years. He's from Valencia, California. Herta refires, gets it in gear, spins the car to get it pointed in the right direction. Tons of debris on the track. Pulls out right in front of Peter Barron in the S Network Borgia. Now, Herta, talk about tires that are trashed up. You'd think that car's Michelin's would certainly have a lot of debris on them because they were warm at that point.
Well, who should we talk about next to James? Brian, I'm sorry.
Herta back on the gas. And as they come by start finish, he has given up fourth. He lost the spot to his teammate.
Wow.
Just the back end got away from him.
He was sideways very early on that corner. That's a very quick corner, too. And I don't think that light bump will do anything in front of the car. The splitter that extends out so far on the Panos, it's got to be like an inch thick at least, that carbon fiber. You could stand on it. So, no, it looks fine, actually.
So Herta's back on the gas. A little bit slower than we might have expected at this part of the racetrack. You can see how dirty in front of the car is.
He lost one winglet on the impact on the right front headlight, one of those dive planes.
Top of the screen, we show you our Audi running order overall. 27 minutes of racing left.
Yes, he'll lose a little bit of downforce, but not so much. I mean, it really shouldn't change the car too badly.
So Herta falls back in line in 5th spot. 2 laps behind the leader and about 16 seconds behind his teammate, David Brabham. Biela continues to lead in car number 1. Hey, coming up on NBC, it's Premiere Week starting tomorrow night. And it's 1 week until the premiere of the next great American drama with actual performances from American Bandstand. A show we all remember from our younger days, I'm sure. American Dreams, it premieres next Sunday at 8, 7 Central on NBC. Biela up the front straightaway. Still accelerating as he heads toward the first couple of corners. Biela is your leader over Herbert and Leto, Brabham and Herta. We'll be back. As we show you some of what has transpired in the first couple of hours here at the Monterey Sports Car Championships at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. The American Le Mans Series. Welcome back to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Coverage of the American Le Mans Series here on NBC Sports. Frank Biela continues to lead the race in the Audi number 1, one of the Team Yost factory cars. Their team car, the number 2, though, has had problems. Biela and Puro have led just about all the way in this machine. It's been pretty much a flawless performance. But Bill, as we saw with the team car, things can break and go wrong in any moment.
It's amazing. I've seen a few different things today that I didn't expect to see. One was the failure of the Audi rear suspension piece. We also had a Cadillac dropout. They have been so successful lately. And now this, number 22, Timo Bernhard and the Alex Joe McKenna Porsche. He is pulled over with mechanicals.
Now, they were the GT leaders. We saw Timo as they came under the Bridgestone Bridge just a moment ago, slowly, almost as though the car ran out of fuel, although I doubt that that was the case. He got the car off to the right-hand side, and it is dead in the water, Martin Haven.
Yeah, it's out of gears, guys. They're readying everything they can down here to adjust the linkage, but he's got a box full of neutrals, and it's very hard to move in that condition.
I would say that will be a vain effort then. If he can't find a gear, they're just going to have to sit in that spot at the side of the racetrack for the remaining 20-some minutes here today.
And again, that adds to the mystery that there's certain tracks, like a very bumpy track or a street circuit, where you get a lot of loading and unloading on the rear axles. That's hard on the gearbox, but this Laguna Seca track is so smooth that generally it's not noted as a car breaker.
So that will hand the lead over to the team car, Sasha Maassen and Lucas Luhr in car number 23. The other Alex Joe, McKenna, Zybernaut Porsche. We talked at the top of the broadcast how there is a brand new Ferrari in this category, the Risi Competition 360. Anthony Lazzaro, Ralph Kellner's, they will move to second in GT. Mazda is 32, also lives in Monaco. He's got a dozen career victories in the series. This would be his 13th if he can hang on. He's been part of the second-place team at Le Mans this year in GT. And as many of these drivers do, he also enjoys skiing and various other extremes.
I think we should start saying that we live in Monaco, just to add some.
You're a much more likely candidate for that than I am.
Not me.
Watching Sasha work the 23.
Just got an interesting note here, Rick, that the number 22 car, it is the gear shift that broke, not the gearbox. And that makes a lot more sense because the Porsche gearboxes are so solid, but the gear shift, it appears to have broken off. So maybe that's why he's still sitting in the car. And it looked like he was looking down at the floor, trying to figure out how he could get the car back into gear to drive it in the pits.
If he could find a lever of some sort, he might be able to get the car into gear and get it running again. On board with Massa looking at the back bumper cover of the 23 on our Porsche Digital Pilot. Full throttle. And they have gotten the other car onto pit road. Martin Haven.
Yeah, good job by Timo Bernhardt. I don't know quite what gear he came back in, but he found something. Oh, you know what it is, Bill?
Yes.
The shifter came off in his hand. They're working inside the cockpit. What they obviously have to do is dig down to the top cover of the gearbox and take out the actual piece that goes inside the gearbox into the top of the linkage. Of course, the gearbox is further back behind the driver, but this will not be a quick job, so they've certainly lost the lead and any chance of winning in the category.
I wonder if they can just find a good pair of vice grip pliers and clamp them on there and let them go play.
Well, they have a proper shifter, and I think around here, particularly when you think of corners like the corkscrew, a pair of vice grips, you know, I'd wait a minute to get a proper shifter if I was him.
Well, at this point, they've lost a couple of laps to their team car, which leads with Sasha Massa. There's the 23. Working up on the 13, Ben Devlin driving the Archangel 675 car. I'm back on board the Porsche. As we watch Sasha Maassen go to work on the pedals. Quickly to the clutch.
Yeah, very quickly. There should be a ballet once he gets up at the top of the hill in the corkscrew area. Just shifting up through the... Okay, here we go. Yep, 1 gear, 2 gears down.
That's just called heel and towing there, working the brake and the throttle at the same time.
Yeah, and very softly on the throttle on the initial application, just keeping the car nicely balanced.
Meantime, in the prototypes, one of the Vipers nearly off and thoroughly off, laying 2 wheels off. Meantime, the Brownies.com car, the 56 of McMurray, they were a contender in 675, running 16th overall, into the dirt. Trying to find a gear. Chris McMurray's Pilbeam Nissan.
He's saying drive it back.
Late in the going here at Laguna Seca. Listen to the gravel.
Pump it up.
That's the brake prep. Now he's talking about the brakes, saying they're squishy. See if you can pump the brakes back up.
Is it coming back to you?
Now see, look at the telemetry in the bottom corner of the screen.
Pump them up before you get to the corners. Make sure you got brakes before you get to the corners.
Don't worry, he will.
Chris McMurray from Phoenix driving the 56.
Just hit a sign for the corner. You might have locked up the rears.
5th in the 675 category.
Again? You might have locked up the rears.
Well, he's doing a lot of different things going around this lap.
Turn the bias to the front.
That's it.
Tell him to work the brake bias. That's the knob where his left hand is there.
Yeah, exactly. It's adjustable. The amount of pressure you put from front to rear. And they're saying, he's saying perhaps he had maybe too much pressure on the rear brakes that caused them to lock up just a bit early. And what it does, this makes the car all squiggly, like you see in a lot of TV shows when they go sideways down the street.
So McMurray back on the gas, headed toward the corkscrew. Now in the 675s, we talked about the Dyson car. Well, Claudia Hurtgen has the Nighthawk car back in the lead. That's the 11. We'll be back with more of the Monterey Sports Car Championships after these words. Back at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, coverage of the Monterey Sports Car Championships, the American Le Mans Series here on NBC Sports. Beautiful weekend for sports car racing. The weather couldn't be better. 80 degrees, clear skies. And Bill Adam, we've seen a lot of interesting stories develop here today.
We have. This really has been a battle in every single class. The GTS battle between Ferrari, Corvette, Saleen. Even Audi's having failures and Cadillac's having failures. A lot of things that we just don't expect. But the racing has been nonstop. It's typical racing here.
Frank Biela and his teammate have led just about all the way in car number 1, the Audi. Emanuele Puro and Biela started on the pole today, and they have been quick all day long. And Biela has had that car working flawlessly. The team car, Christensen, Dindo Capello, they have had anything but a calm day. They've had a parts failure, among other things, and that has dropped them back deep in the standings. Now at GTS, the Corvette starting to rumble here. Kelly Collins and Andy Pilgrim have managed to move that car to the top of the charts, amazingly, considering what that team has battled through today. The Pro Drive Ferrari, the 33, Thomas Enga, Peter Cox, one car off in the dust here. They led a large portion of the race. They are now 10 seconds behind. So Enga and Cox have had problems here in the final hour today, and the 4 car has persevered and has grabbed the lead in GTS. Collins, age 37, lives in Corona del Mar, California, not too far from here, working toward perhaps his 6th career victory in the series. He's been part of the 2nd place team in Le Mans the last 2 years. Loves the water, calls himself a river rat. This would be a big win for Collins and Pilgrim. They're widely perceived as the 2nd car in a 2-car team behind the 3 of O'Connell and Fellows. But today could well be one of their days to shine, because the 3 car has had problems and caught fire and burned up a while back.
Kelly Collins, another one of these wild boaters, very much like Bill Omberlin. He's got one of these 100-mile-an-hour, 800 cubic inch monsters that they go water skiing with and doing whatever. So,
with 13 minutes remaining, take a look. It's Collins, your leader. Enga, Conrad, Marino, Franchitti is 4. But overall, it has been a dominant season for the Corvette team, and for the number 4, their dry spell could come to an end this weekend here at Monterey. Back live in Monterey, California with Bill Adam. I'm Rick Benjamin. We take a look from our Porsche Copter Cam at the progress of the leader, Frank Biela, in car number 1. The Team Yost factory Audis, they've been out front just about all day today. Johnny Herbert in the ADT champion Audi has gotten that car back to 2nd. He's only 18 seconds behind, which sounds like a lot, but in this form of racing with all the pit stops and driver changes, it really isn't. However, with about 10 minutes to go, 9:53 of race time remaining, it would be certainly a big effort for Herbert to make that kind of a move and catch up to Biela. Biela has to keep that car between the white lines at this point. J.J. Leto, meantime, has moved the Cadillac to number 8, the remaining caddy, back to 3rd. It's been another good effort for the Cadillac team here this weekend.
Johnny Herbert, I think he's been such a star this year. He just never seems to give up. I love the tenacity and the intensity that he drives with.
Our Porsche digital pilot riding with Biela. In Herbert and Stefan Johansson's defense, Biela's going to try to thread the needle here between 2 cars. The Saleen on the inside, the Ferrari GT car on the outside, and he manages to get the car safely home.
That was a Hertz moment.
Gee. The 26 car, Franz Conrad driving the Saleen. He's 15th overall, 3rd in GTS. As we ride with Herbert, his helmet cam on the gas hard.
Glancing around the cockpit a little bit.
And Bill, for folks who may be joining us for the first time, this is a car that on the surface looks very similar to the 2 Yost cars, the 2 silver cars.
Yep.
Not quite as current in the technology department.
No, it's not. There are different stages of equal, and one of the downsides in being a semi-factory. Hey, look at this, another guy in Monaco. Boy, oh boy. Another, maybe the downside of being a semi-factory team, that yes, you get great equipment, but it's always slightly less than what the full factory team gets. And then I think the true down, you're not allowed to experiment. You must use what they tell you to use. You're not allowed to go out on your own, like say the Cadillac boys are, the Panos boys. And they can try a different suspension setup, a different gear shift, a different whatever they want. The champion car is not allowed to do that. They must run what the factory tells them.
Because Audi engineers tend to this car and supply the engines and so forth. Johnny Herbert is second, though, 15 seconds behind Vila. Leto, Capello, and Brabham, the rest of the top 5. We'll be back for the finish on NBC Sports. High-intensity action, the American Le Mans Series at Laguna Seca. Final minutes. This is for the lead in GTS. The Pro Drive Ferrari.
Got it.
Thomas Enga gets by Kelly Collins in the Corvette. Enga in the 33 car. First time for the Pro Drive team in American Le Mans competition. And they have gotten by the Corvette.
Now, the Panos being on the inside will hurt the Ferrari. Look at this. This is going to give Collins a shot.
Collins leans on it. Collins with a chance as they come through the bottom of the corkscrew. Enga pulls away.
Wow. Boy, great job. Kelly tried to get by on the outside. Enga wisely made his car wider than it had to be, but that's perfectly legal.
Guys, that was almost Zanardi versus Herta in the Champ Car Series a couple of years ago. Thomas Enga last weekend won the Formula 3000 Championship in Europe. That is the stepping stone up to Formula 1. This weekend, his first race in North America in the Ferrari. And the problem for the Corvette is they have been running out of tyres. They're also a little tight on fuel. They think that gamble has paid off, but the tyres are really shot. And you can see that Kelly Collins had precious little there to fight back with.
He was able to block and use the track to keep the lead going through half of the racetrack, but as they came to the top of the hill, he just was not able to keep the Ferrari at bay anymore. Here it was, Collins with Enga going through the dirt a little bit. Collins came back at him. Enga used up all the road, forced Collins' left rear tire off. Corvette crew watching on the monitors.
So close.
The Ferrari had the measure of Corvette in that situation. So the Corvettes, which have been all conquering this year, they won again in Le Mans GTS. This car, the Pro Drive Ferrari, led the first 11 hours. Team members privately saying they purposely built a car that would fly, but they knew it would not last all 24 hours. Just to prove how good this combination could be, they've worked on the car all summer. They will run the remaining 3 races of the American Le Mans season. They'll run besides Laguna Seca, they'll be in Miami, and then the team will want to close out the year in the month of October. Thomas Enga, Peter Cox have certainly put on a good show here today in that beautiful 550 Ferrari.
Oh, it's a gorgeous piece of engineering and beautifully constructed. It's really perfect. And Thomas Enga, he's such a good driver. I mean, he's another one of the many drivers in the American Le Mans field that have Formula One experience. He was a test driver for Jordan back in 2000 and, in fact, ran 3 Grand Prix with Prost near the end of 2001. So he is a very highly talented driver.
Active in Le Mans competition, of course, here and in France. And then, as Martin pointed out, won the F3000 title this season, which is AAA baseball. It's basically the Busch Series for Formula One. Watching the race leader, Frank Vila, car number 1. It's the Team Yost Audi with a red trim. Infineon on the side. They have led just about all the way today. Vila and Emanuele Pirro. And that car still seems to be working, Bill, as well as it did at the drop of the green this afternoon. It's 675. This is a great story. 7th overall, the Gestetner 11 car, the Nighthawk MG Lola. Claudia Hurtgen from Germany in that car for the final stint. She has gotten back by Butch Leitzinger and James Weaver, and the Dyson Thetford Norcold, very similar car. In fact, now has a 40-second lead in the 675s, and they may have solved their reliability problem.
This is a good sign for the 675 class because right now those 3 cars are running 7th, 8th, and 9th overall. And even though they've had minor problems over the course of the day, basically I think they've all got to be very pleased with this performance.
Let's climb back on board Jeff Bucknam's Fairy Tale Brownies 56 car. This is Chris McMurray from Phoenix behind the wheel now. They had their problems. McMurray went into the gravel just a few moments ago as we showed you. You can see how dirty the car is. Our camera on the nose piece of the car, the splitter as it's called. You can see, even though we're moving the lens cover there, everything's pretty dirty after that trip into the dirt.
Yeah.
On board our BBS telemetry up the hill.
Almost 120 miles an hour there. It drops back to about 80. Now, this is heading up again towards the corkscrew. It's steeply uphill. You don't have any idea how much you're climbing at this point. One last climb here, and it'll flatten out. Now, watch the speed. See what he does. Whoops. Well, he didn't go to 0. That was a bit of a lie.
Name your favorite roller coaster ride. It's not nearly as good as this one.
You enjoyed your ride here.
I love my ride around. I'm sorry that the 44 Jag wasn't with us here this weekend. suspension piece in the 2 car. Came to pit road for a long stop, a driver change, changed the piece when Christensen got out of the car, and Cabello's got the 2 car. 2 laps down, but he is back up in the 4th spot. And your leader, here is Biela. He'll get the white flag this time by. He's got a 20-second lead over Johnny Herbert in the ADT Champion 38 car. White flag waving over Biela as he laps by the S Network car. The GT Porsches, the 43.
Oh,
Barron driving the car, and Kelly Collins has run the Corvette out of fuel, evidently.
Well,
at least he stopped on the racetrack.
And Martin said it was a gamble. They thought they were okay on, and obviously it is not.
Doug Feehan and the rest of the Corvette team watching the television monitors, the Pratt & Miller bunch. It has not been their day, and their record, they have not yet won at Laguna Seca, and that record will continue.
Really remarkable. I mean, it's kind of like you turn to the NFL and the Jets and the Dolphins, and it seems that the Dolphins never are able to beat the Jets, but, well, once in a while it happens. So Corvettes used to be fast and fragile. Then these guys got this car completely figured out. It has been just a bulletproof, wonderful machine, and both cars having troubles today.
Biela heading to the checkered flag in car number 1. As Andrea Joyce told us a few moments ago, that Jets-Miami jinx, if you will, is over. Miami winning convincingly today. Here's Biela down through the corkscrew. Coming up on the Dome Judd. Haven't talked much about that car. Christian Van and Milka Duno back in the series as they run through some trash. There's a car that we've seen at Le Mans the last couple of years. Christian Van, a very accomplished driver from Great Britain. And they will finish 12th overall in that 900 prototype. Biela, final left-hand turn, front straightaway here at Laguna Seca. Checkered flag is in the air. Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro are your winners today of the Monterey Sports Car Championships. They take the 900 prototype win as well. Biela waves to the fans. And the Ferrari of Thomas Enga and Peter Cox, they will win in GTS. They've got a 48-second lead over Franz Conrad and Terry Borcheller in the Celine. With the failure of Kelly Collins and Andy Pilgrim's Corvette, the Celine will get second. Enga and Cox in their first run here in the States in the American Le Mans Series. They grab the win, their first run since Sebring back in March. Sasha Maassen brings home car number 23 for the Alex Job McKenna Zybernaut team. They will win in GT. And here comes the Nighthawk Racing Gestetner MG Lola, Claudia Hurtgen, on her way to victory in the 675 category. We'll move by the Cycle Porsche as they come to the final corner on the inside. Hurtgen will finish in 7th spot here today overall, and a great run for that team.
Little celebration.
And the checkered flag waves over the Nighthawk 11 car. We'll be back in a moment to wrap up our coverage of the Monterey Sports Car Championships. First to Andrea Joyce in New York at the Sun America Sports Desk. Welcome back to Monterey, California. Coverage of the American Le Mans Series here on NBC Sports, the Monterey Sports Car Championships. Checkered flag has just fallen on a beautiful day. Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro come home your overall winners in their Audi R8, car number 1. Biela driving the car to victory. Here's Jan Beeks.
And what a great ride for Frank Biela, standing on this bulletproof Audi. It looked like a somewhat routine day at the office, but boy, threading through traffic sometime looked like it was a real challenge.
Yeah, you know, it always looks easier than it is, but I was really afraid that we have another stupid problem because we were leading so often this year. And in the end, we retired for some stupid reason. So I was really listening to everything. I think the engine was bad. The tire had a flat spot. The gearbox was broken. I was really getting crazy in the car. But I'm really happy to win that race.
It's been a difficult weekend. Emanuele had flu-like symptoms earlier on. How was he feeling today after such a great job in qualifying?
I think he was quite happy. I mean, he did a brilliant job yesterday. He did a very, very good job in the first hour of the race. And it's a good thing to be back on the podium or back on top of the podium. And I think it was, for both of us, a very important, very nice race.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Martin?
Thomas Enga, last weekend Formula 3000 Championship. This weekend your first race in the Ferrari in North America. And a great move to take it from the Corvette.
Well, it was fantastic. I couldn't believe. I mean, after all the problems we had in the beginning of this year, and we were not able to match the speed of Corvettes and the sailing as well, finally we did it. The team did a great job. And I mean, the car, my lovely red Ferrari, was fantastic. Thank you.
Claudia, quickly, a victory in 675, great reliability today. Were you concerned after your slightly slow last pit stop?
Yeah, I know that we was in front and I have a big gap, and so I can go relaxed. But for sure it was important for the team to win this race, because all races before we have something trouble. But so I'm happy for the team that we can win today.
Congratulations, Martin.
Sasha Masson, you took over your car in second place behind your teammates, but you ended up winning GT. But not a great win for your...
Yeah, I feel a little sorry for our teammates. Timo was very quick and he broke a shifter, and it happened to me twice here as well. So I know how it feels. I feel sorry for him, but good for our team. We pushed hard, and yeah, the Michelin tires were good. We just had to change once, and so it's good. Great.
So Sasha Masson and Lucas Lohr come home the winners in GT. Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro the winners overall. Pleasure to be with you today. A wild day of action at Laguna Seca. For Bill Adam, Martin Hammond, and Jan Bikas, I'm Rick Benjamin saying so long from the Monterey Sports Car Championships. Once again, our winners, Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro. You've been watching the America of the Maz series on NBC. We'll see you next time.